Ms. Schneider, I just, as I was sitting here in midway through this hearing, received a letter from my governor, who is writing on behalf of the Outer Continental Shelf Governors Coalition. He is the chair of that. He has stated in this letter that he hopes that the OCS Governors Coalition can cultivate a substantive, ongoing dialogue with you, if you are confirmed, on the opportunities and challenges facing offshore energy development and the roles that the coastal states play. He goes on to outline a number of concerns, a number of questions, much of which relate to the concern that there is not much dialogue. Perhaps no dialogue between the states and the agencies as it relates to the planning for much of what goes on in the offshore, and asks specifically to discuss the legal and otherwise appropriate role for the input of state governments and what actions would you take to ensure sufficient and ongoing input from the states. Other issues that he raises are, again, the timeliness of permits for OCS oil and natural gas operators, further issues on revenue sharing, following up on the question of Senator Scott, leasing plans in the Atlantic and additional leasing opportunities going forward, recognizing that we're pretty much out of time here. I would submit the governor's letter for the record and would ask that you respond to these questions as you respond to the additional questions for the record that I will be submitting to you. I do think that these are very important questions that have been raised, and I guess I would ask you to speak just briefly here to what role you do believe in terms of input from the states and state governments. What role is there, and do you think that you have sufficient input right now from the states? Because apparently the states or this coalition does not think that we do have that sufficient input, that dialogue is strong and robust as it needs to be.
And I don't want my friend and colleague to be shortchanged on this, and I plead guilty to having one additional question anyway. But I do not want Senator Murkowski shortchanged, so she's raising an important point, and I think that direct question was directed at you, Ms. Schneider, so please proceed.
Yes, thank you, Senator. I can't speak to the level of dialogue ongoing currently between the states and the administration, as I'm not part of the administration, but I am committed to improving dialogue between the states. I worked for the state of Oregon for a couple of years. I worked for the state of Florida. I understand that states have perspectives and they have voices and they need to be heard. And I think if confirmed, I will do everything I can to make sure that states are heard, that I go out, I meet with the states, that I go to the various states to understand what their perspectives are, because obviously things are different in the different jurisdictions, and that the states have an ample opportunity to voice their opinions on development opportunities, both onshore and offshore.
Well, and I might suggest that this OCS Governors Coalition might be a great place for you to start that dialogue. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure that they will look forward to hearing from you on many of these important issues. And Mr. Chairman, I do have additional questions that I will submit for the record. Probably one that I would like you to, both Ms. Schneider and Mr. Cornsey, to focus on a little more intently, is the question that relates to ANILCA and basically the history and the premise behind the ANILCA provisions and the No More clause. We are daily concerned in Alaska that this administration will move forward in announcing new wilderness in our state, new wilderness most particularly up in the coastal plain, and in direct violation and contravention of the ANILCA Act. And so I would ask that you look critically at that you look to the history of ANILCA as you understand how not only the issue of wilderness plays out, but so many other aspects of management of our lands in the state tie in to the provisions of ANILCA, and most specifically, the no more clause contained within that act. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I thank you for an extra few minutes there.